6 silos have already been erased. Not damaged, not destroyed, erased. 10,000 people at a time, forgetting everything, waking up as blank pages inside their own lives. And silo 18 is next. There is a drug hiding inside something called vitamin D+. It's already in the water system. It's already moving through the pipes toward 10,000 unsuspecting people. And the only person who might be able to stop it just spit her own dose down the drain. Because she's starting to remember something she was never supposed to remember. But here's the part that should really scare you. This isn't new technology. This isn't something the Salo invented. 352 years before Juliet ever set foot in cafeteria and looked up at a screen, this exact same drug was already being tasted on soldiers, on prisoners, on a woman named Charlotte, who's about to become the key to everything. And by the end of this breakdown, you're going to understand why one man in a congressional office 3.5 centuries ago might be the actual reason 10,000 people are trapped underground right now, forgetting who they are on command. Welcome to Nima's Movie Cave. I'm Nima and this is Salo Season 3 Episode 2. Let's start with the lie. Because right now, Camille is telling Juliet a story. She went outside, she found a shelter, she came back on her own. A clean, simple explanation for the most dangerous thing that's ever happened inside this silo. Except it isn't working. Juliet's mind keeps rejecting it. Not because she's stubborn, because this story isn't real. And turns out, a lie behaves completely differently inside a damaged brain than an actual memory does. You can tell someone anything you want, but if it never happened, something in them just won't hold on to it. Which raises a question the show has been dancing around since episode 1. If a lie doesn't stick, what does? We're about to find out, and the answer takes us back 352 years to a woman named Charlotte, laying on a hospital bed, not remembering her own brother's face. Because Charlotte didn't lose her memory in the crash. That's the story everyone's been told. That's not what happened. A man named Dr. Viktor Srnkovic has been giving her a drug at one of the most expensive private clinics in the country. And he explains it to Daniel in a way that should chill you to the bone. He calls it a drawbridge, something you can erase between a person and their own memories. Cut the connection completely.
Who are you?
And when you finally lower that drawbridge again, you get to choose exactly what crosses back over. Memory isn't just in the brain, he tells Daniel. It's in the body too. Nothing is actually gone, it's just locked, waiting, and then Daniel asks him a question that changes everything we thought we knew about this show. Can you plant a lie inside someone's mind? And the doctor says, yes. Sit with that for a second, because we've already seen this exact thing happen. Back in the season premiere, Robert told Juliet she once held his wife and son hostage at gunpoint. He told her he's the judge of the silo, except he wasn't the judge back then. He added that detail himself. He rewrote his own history into her broken mind, and she had absolutely no way to check if it was true. Which brings us to the theory that's about to make you look at this entire show differently. What if Daniel isn't just an engineer? What if the man designing the drills that will eventually carve out the silos is also the very first person in this universe to figure out you don't have to erase a person's memory? You can replace it. 300 years later, that is exactly how the algorithm operates on 10,000 people at once. If that machine is artificial intelligence, it had to learn its behavior from somewhere. And there's a moment in this episode, a cut, where the algorithm finishes speaking to Camille, and the very next second, we're listening to Daniel talk to his sister. Almost like the show wants you to hear the overlap. Is the algorithm modeled after Daniel? Is he, in some way, the true architect sitting behind the entire silo system centuries before? Keep that question in your head, because it's about to get worse. Even though Daniel and Charlotte talk every single day, she doesn't fully trust him. She goes to a reporter first, a woman named Helen, and what Charlotte tells her is the kind of thing that gets people disappear. She was already suspicious of the Iran mission before the crash ever happened. Before she lost a single memory, she went looking for answers on her own. First to Helen, then pushing Daniel to join the very committee investigating the conflict. That's not a coincidence. That's a woman building a network. Military access through herself, media access through Helen, political access through her own brother. And Helen asked the one question that could bring the entire government down. Was the dirty bomb attack on the Capitol even real? Their jet had every piece of modern communication equipment stripped out. It was carrying bunker busters, and somehow it ended up flying through a black cloud at an altitude it should never have been anywhere near. That doesn't sound like an accident. That sounds like something somebody wanted buried. And it turns out Charlotte already knew she was being watched before her memory was ever touched. The same man from the train station shows up outside her clinic. 3 people, military, media, political power, all connected, all getting close to the truth, which is exactly why one of them had to be silenced. But Charlotte isn't the only one running out of time, because back in Silo 18, Juliet just made a decision that could get her killed, and it starts with a note she was supposed to burn. She hides it instead. She lies to Camille's face. What she doesn't know is that she's been watched through hidden cameras inside her own apartment this entire time. And the algorithm reveals something staggering to Camille. This silo is 352 years old. 6 other silos have already gone through a complete memory reset. The drug has worked without failing for over 3 centuries. Except now, for the first time, it might be failing. Juliet's path back to herself doesn't come from Camille. It comes from people who refuse to lie to her. Martha Walker treats her like a real person, not a patient, tells her to trust her gut, like she always used to, and then hands her back an old multi-tool. It looks like nothing. It isn't. That exact object showed up in Season 1, Episode 5, hanging off her during the stairwell chase. It showed up again in Season 2, Episode 5, when Bernard handed her belongings back to her father, which means if that pattern holds, her memory might fully return in Episode 5 of this season. Write that theory down, because we're not done with the object yet. Julia slips away from her guard during a chaotic crowd scene, and it tells you everything about how much power she now holds over people in this silo, whether she wants it or not. She meets Patrick Kennedy, Sandy, and Danny, and they show her 2 helmets side by side, one numbered 18, one numbered 17, the exact helmet she wore during the Season 2 finale. And the second she sees it, something breaks through. Not a story someone told her, an actual memory, hers. By the end of the episode, her nurse finds a capsule she spat out, hidden in the drain. She stopped taking it. She knows something is wrong. And that decision is about to put a target on her back that even Camille might not be able to protect her from. But there's a smaller moment in this episode that hits harder than almost anything else. Shirley camped outside Juliet's hospital room for 10 straight days, terrified she wouldn't survive, and the second Juliet woke up, she looked right through her like a stranger. Is that self-protection? Or is Shirley already giving up on someone who needs her more than she ever has? The show isn't answering that yet. A woman named Orla Kent has vanished. She's the shadow to head of supply, and she disappeared right after she started asking questions about unusual amounts of vitamin D plus being moved through construction. That is not a coincidence. Someone doesn't want her finding out what's really inside those barrels, and if she's being hidden anywhere in this silo, the mines feel like the only place dark enough, run by a man she was already clashing with in the premiere. And then there's Sheriff Billings, a man rewriting the very laws he no longer believes in, carrying a physical illness that, according to Judge Meadows, is caused by nothing more than the human body needing to be outside, and now his own wife has joined the outsiders, which means the man enforcing the salad rules is married to a woman actively breaking them. That is not sustainable. Something in that marriage is going to break wide open, and soon. But none of this compares to the mystery that's been sitting underneath the entire season, unanswered, for 92 days. Lucas Kyle. Both the outsiders and Salo security are hunting for him. And nobody, not one person, has found him. The theory gaining the most traction is that he's hiding somewhere deep in the caverns beneath the silo, a place that became almost impossible to reach after the staircase exploded, which means if he made it down there, he might be sitting right next to a hidden tunnel, one that could connect to other silos entirely, possibly even the one silo nobody is supposed to know exists at all. If that's true, Lucas Kyle might be the second most important person in this entire story, right behind Juliet, because he may be the only other living person who understands exactly what the safeguard protocol does and exactly what happens if it's triggered. We are going to come back to that because it connects directly to how this episode ends. The algorithm shows Camille 2 lines on a graph. One line is the calm Juliet's return has brought to this silo. The other is the risk she poses the longer her real memories stay intact. If those 2 lines ever cross, keeping her alive stops making sense. But removing her now could be just as dangerous. Because there are people in this silo who worship her, who call themselves the Juliets, who copy her tattoo like it's scripture. So the algorithm makes its choice anyway. Hoarders are shown in the final shot of this episode, quietly carrying barrels marked vitamin D+ toward the water supply. The exact same method used a century and a half earlier to erase an entire rebellion from 10,000 minds at once. If Juliet doesn't get her memory back before those barrels reach the water, everyone forgets again, just like it's happened 6 times before. And somewhere 352 years in the past, Daniel is sitting in a clinic, teaching a doctor exactly how to make that kind of forgetting possible, which means the real question isn't whether Silo 18 is about to lose its memory. It's whether Daniel already knew, centuries ago, that one day it would have to.